So everybody, we are in our March theme, which is remember, God is your source. Are y'all remembering that? That God is your source? Okay, we'll see. We'll see as we go through. So I want to remind everybody that our companion book for this month is Edwin Gaines, The Four Spiritual Laws of Prosperity. And we're unpacking it a little bit every Sunday as we go through this month. So last Sunday, I talked about tithing, and tithing is the first law of prosperity. And Edwin states that money has a prayer on it. It says, "In God we trust," right? So we are trusting the ever-expanding infinite, the ever-expanding infinite source of every single thing as our sustenance. And we know that by faith we tithe, right? It's not about money, it's about having faith. So today we're going to talk about fear and faith and feats. Oh my. Fear, faith, and feats. Oh my. Fear, faith, and feats. Oh my. So if you didn't catch that, remember from the Wizard of Oz, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through today's talk, right? So we know that Dorothy, the Scarecrow, and the Tin Man, they were preparing to enter into this really dark and scary forest, right? Because they were trying to get to where? Oz, right? And as they approached this forest, something happened, right? What showed up? Because they were just, easing on down the road, right? They were all happy, right? And I have the Wizard of Oz, like the classic Wizard of Oz in my head. And I have the Wiz with Michael Jackson and Diana Ross in my head, kind of fused together. It's quite a party. It's quite a party between those two movies. But remember, they were easing on down, right? Everything was fine, right? They were arm in arm, just skipping down the road. And then they came to this forest, right? To something that stirred up fear in them, right? And we can relate to that, can't we? We're just easing on down. We got our stuff going. Everything is looking good. We all that, yes. And then, what is this? What is this fear that is showing up, right? What is this fear that is showing up all of a sudden? Let me take you back to the scene. So Dorothy says, "I don't like this forest. It's dark and creepy." And Scarecrow says, "Of course, I don't know, but I think it'll get darker before it gets lighter." And then Dorothy says, "Well, do you suppose we'll meet any wild animals?" And Tin Man says, "Well, we might." And Dorothy's like, oh no. And Scarecrow says, "Animals, will they eat straw?" And the Tin Man is like, "No, some, but mostly lions and tigers and bears." And Dorothy says, "Lions?" And Scarecrow says, "And tigers?" And Tin Man says, "And bears?" And then Dorothy says, "Oh, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my," right? So we could be just like Dorothy, Scarecrow, and Tin Man when it comes to going for what it is that we want, following our heart's desire, living our purpose. Can't we? Can't we be like that? Yeah. So I want you to know that just like Dorothy, just like Scarecrow, and I'm not leaving out the lion. He ain't there yet. He wasn't there yet, y'all. So I'm not leaving him out. But just like Scarecrow, Tin Man, and Dorothy, we are on our own yellow brick road. We are on our own yellow brick road. And so the goal of making it to see the Wizard of Oz so that they could ask for what they want Remember, Scarecrow wanted a brain, and Tin Man wanted a heart, and Lion wanted courage, and Dorothy wanted to go home, right? But they had to go through this forest first, right? And they were afraid, but they went through it. They went through it. Were they afraid? Yes, y'all, they were afraid. And did things get darker before they got lighter? Yes, remember the flying monkeys, y'all? Things got darker before they got lighter. But they went in anyway, even with their faith, even with their fear, they have faith, right? And did they meet wild animals? They met wild animals, yes. And we meet wild animals. We meet the animals of doubt. We meet the animals of, some of us, shame. We meet the animals of frustration. We meet the animals of disappointment. We meet the animals of fear of success, fear of failure, right? The list goes on and on and on of the animals that we meet, the wild animals that we meet as we walk our journey through our fear, right? But they had faith. They had faith even as they was walking through this darkness. They had faith that there was light at the end of this tunnel. They had faith that they were still on the yellow brick road, even though they couldn't see it. They knew that it was there, right? I love what Ernest Holmes writes in the Science of Mind text. He says, if one will have faith in themselves, faith in their fellow man, faith in the universe, and in God, that faith will light the place in which they find themselves. And by the light of this faith, they will be able to see that all is good. And the light shed by this faith will light the way for others. We become conscious of darkness only when we are without faith. For faith is ever the light of our day and the light of our way, making that way clearly visible to us, even when to all others it may be beset with obstacles and ongoing rough. Is that not the testimony of Scarecrow, Tin Man, the Lion, and Dorothy, right? There was ongoing roughness going on, but they have faith in God, in the universe, in each other, right? And they knew that through this darkness, that there would be light. That faith is ever the light of day and the light of our way. So I used to think that faith was the absence of fear, right? I used to believe that if I felt fear, then I didn't have faith, right? And so I know that it doesn't mean that, right? You could have fear and have faith at the same time, right? So sometimes we think when we're in the presence of feeling fear, we say to ourselves, oh, I need to have more faith. But we have faith. We just need faith of a mustard seed. That's all that we need. So let's not discount the faith that we do have when we feel fear. Don't discount the faith that you have when you feel fear. Keep going. Keep going, because you're not in it alone, right? They were moving forward in the face of all kinds of stuff, right? And they remained conscious of the light that was right before them. So the other day, when I was doing SIP, Bonnie brought up this question about bravery and courage, right? And another thing that I used to believe, and I don't know if anyone else believes that, is when I felt fear, I would say, I don't have any courage. Not true. I could have courage and feel fear. As a matter of fact, being courageous is an act of doing the thing even when you feel fear, right? So the presence of fear does not mean you don't have faith. And the presence of fear doesn't mean that you're not courageous. So let's stop telling ourselves that. Let's stop telling ourselves that. What if Dorothy, the Scarecrow, and Tin Man allowed fear to stop them, right? They would not have followed the yellow brick road. Poor Tin Man would not have his heart. The Scarecrow wouldn't have his brain. The lion wouldn't have courage, and Dorothy wouldn't be home. Or would they have? We wouldn't know. We don't know, right? We only know this part of the story. So we have to follow, and I loved in your meditation, Chris, that you led us through the path of each one of these things, right? And we got to pick up from fear, we got to pick up the faith. And from faith, we got to look at what it is that we desire. Yes? So we can be in our fear and faith and feats, oh my. And there's an invitation for us to look at the fear, face it, face whatever it is, right? We might be tempted to run away because they did run, right? There were lots of times they started running, but they still turned and went forward. They still went towards that which they were desiring to experience in their lives. So what are your fears? Chris asked you to get in touch with your fears when you were doing the meditation. What fears came up for you, if any? The fear of success, that's a big one for me. The fear of success. And I know that it's present for me when I start doing other things that don't have nothing to do with the thing that I desire, right? I could find 101 things to do instead of that one thing. I'll give you a good example. I like elephants. And so there's an elephant hanging on one of the walls in my house, and it fell down. Now, it fell down months ago, and it was down. Yesterday, I had this thing that I needed to do, right? And what did I do? I said, oh, this will be a good time for me to go and hang up that elephant right now, right? So we could use the distractions of our fears, right? The fear of success, the fear of failure, the fear of disappointment, whatever it might be, to create detours for us, right? To create detours. And I like to say that doubt is a detour. When we start to doubt ourselves, we can create detours for ourselves. So we lean into faith. We lean into faith, and we take the fear with us, and we know that courage is with us. And we know what Earnest says. Earnest says, if we are to have any active faith, the faith of God, instead of merely a faith in God, our thought must be centered in universal mind. We have to be centered in universal mind. We are convinced that under law, all things are possible, even if we only believe and work in conformity with the principles of that law. So what is our mind centered on when we're going through our fears? Are we centering our mind on our fear, or are we centering our mind on that thing that we desire? That's a real question I'm asking. Think about that. What are you centering your mind on? Dorothy's mind was centered on going home. She was very clear. I want to go home, right? What is your mind centered on? And she knew, Dorothy knew, no matter what the outer appearance is, that there was a way that she was going to get to Oz, right? No matter what the obstacles are, no matter what the ongoing rough would be, that she was going to get to Oz, because she had a clear feat in mind. So what are your feats? And let me just define feat. F-E-A-T, not F-E-E-T, if anyone's wondering. Feat are a noteworthy or extraordinary act or achievement, usually displaying boldness and skill. So in other words, what is it that you want to achieve? What are your goals for your life, right? Because we know in Edwin Gaines' book, the second law of prosperity is the law of goal setting. And she writes this: you will need to give yourself time and permission to dream big, or you will miss exactly what you are here for, to experience your own divine nature. We are all here to experience our own divine nature. Didn't Scarecrow, Tin Man, Lion, Dorothy, didn't they experience their own divine nature, right? The divine nature of love, the divine nature of intelligence, the divine nature of courage, the divine nature of being home within ourselves, in the truth of who we are. The law of goal setting also requires that you clearly convey to God what it is that you want. And if you don't know what you want, how can you ask God to send it to you? So what is it that you want? What is your feat? That thing that you wish to accomplish? What is it? Have you defined it? Do you know what it looks like? Do you know what it feels like? Are you clear? Do you think something is missing? Many of us think something is missing, right? We could go back to Dorothy. We can go back to the Tin Man. We could go back to the Scarecrow and Lion. They thought something was missing. The Tin Man thought that his heart was missing. The Scarecrow thought his brain was missing. The Lion thought that courage was missing. And Dorothy thought that being home was missing. But what we know is that we have everything that we need already. Already. It's all within us, just waiting for us to activate it again, to get into alignment with it again, to just show up as it again, right? So I know for me, what I want is a never ceasing demonstration that God is my source. That is what I want. A never ceasing demonstration of God as my source, right? And the reason why is because I want to be a living, breathing example of living life in joy. That is my heart's desire. That is my heart's desire. Do I experience darkness in that? Yes. Does it get scary sometimes? Yes. When I was at the Apollo last week, fear was there, y'all. Fear was there, sitting up on the stage looking at me. And I said, well, we're gonna go, right? And I got up on that stage. Because that's what I desire. That's what I want, to have these experiences of joy. Yes? So what is it? What is it that you want, right? I want to have the experience of God's abundance in my life continuously. Continuously. And so that was one of the reasons why I decided to start my unexpected income early, So those of you who know, we participate in Unexpected Income Prosperity Program here at Rockland CSL, as many centers for spiritual living do during the Lent season. And I said, you know what? Why delay unexpected income? Let me just start that now. So in January, I decided I'm going to start now, right? Because why not? Why not? So I shared last Sunday 2 things that happened in January, right? One, a settlement check that I have been waiting for that kept being delayed, and I was told it was going to be delayed again, came through. And 2, Rockland CSL received an unexpected gift from another Centers for Spiritual Living, right? Feeling and experiencing the continuous flow of God as my source. So I want to share another one that just happened, right? Because remember, I'm clear about what my goal is, about what my feat is, about what is being accomplished in my life. And so the invitation is for each one of us to become clearer and clearer about what it is that we are seeking to have accomplished through us. So the other day, maybe 2 weeks ago, I was on the phone with one of my girlfriends, and she was sharing a very sad story. And then out of the blue, she switches and says, do you know if you have any unclaimed funds with the state? And I'm like, what? It was like, I needed a bridge. You was just telling me some really bad news, and now you're asking me, do I know if I have any unclaimed funds with the state? So I said, I have no idea. How will I even find that out? She said, oh, there's a website, New York State Unclaimed Funds. I see Cheryl shaking her head. You got some funds, unclaimed funds, Cheryl? Let me tell you. So I went to the site, I put in my name, and it says I had 1 hit of unclaimed funds. Who knew? So I went through the process, right? I had to answer some questions, and then I get a response saying they're going to send me this check. I don't know how much for, but the check was going to come. I said, well, okay. 2 days ago, the check comes, right? From the New York State Unclaimed Funds for $591.11. Right? Talk about unexpected income, right? So what did I do immediately? I said, well, I'm tithing that back to Rockland CSL because I'm participating in the unexpected income. And this is a demonstration of God being my source. I don't have to worry about the how, right? People provide the right person in the right time in our lives. Dorothy had 10-man scarecrow and lion in hers, and they had each other, right? So let's pay attention to those people around us who are rooting for us, right? Who are encouraging us. And we could shine our light, not just for ourselves, because that's not why we're here. It's not just for us. It's so that we could share with the world and with each other, right? To be a beacon of light in the world. Yes? So just like that happened for me, it happens for every single one of us. I am not the exception. This is just an example, just like Jesus the Christ, right? Not the exception. He was another example of being clear about God, the universe, the divine, whatever you want to call it, that power that we get to use. Yes? Yes. So the universe is waiting, y'all. The universe is waiting to take your order. What are you ordering? If you're at a restaurant and the waiter or waitress comes over and says, can I take your order? And you just sit there saying nothing, you think you're going to eat that day? No. So we have to put in our orders. We have to put in our orders. In spite of the fear, we have faith that our heart's desires will be made manifest because we are here to live our true divine nature. So Edwina, in her book, she has this, I think it's a 10-step formula for practicing abundance and prosperity in your life. And so we're going to unpack that in the class that's coming up, Practicing the Presence of Abundance. But I just want to leave you with a little bit of homework to support you on your journey down your yellow brick road, if you will. So 1, everybody should know what number 1 is. Commit to your daily spiritual practice. That's going to be number one on every single thing that I commit to your daily spiritual practice. There's no compromising on that, right? Write it down. Write down what you want and make it plain. Write it down, make it plain. Don't leave it in a thought zone. Don't leave it up in your head. Write it down with your hand. I've been doing some research in the power of actually handwriting versus sitting at your computer and typing things that you want. There's power in writing with your own hand, seeing it on the page in your own handwriting. There's a biological response that happens. There's a neurosensory response that happens. It impresses deeply into your subconscious mind. It is very powerful. So write it down, right? We want to encode it into our subconscious mind. 3, be earnest, consistent, and convicted in doing your part by taking the necessary action steps, right? And I've fallen in love with the word earnest. It's not a word that we use really anymore, right? We don't really say earnest anymore. But this is what it means to be ardently active, devoutly devoted, enthusiastically diligent. Dorothy, the lion, Tin Man, and the scarecrow were those 3 things. They were ardently active, devoutly devoted, and enthusiastically diligent as they pursued what they desired, right? So they didn't allow fear to stop them. Don't allow fear to stop you. Ernest Holmes says, even God cannot do our job for us. Even God cannot do our job for us. So we have our part to play. Let's do our part. What is our part? The what and the why. What is God's part? The how and the when. Yes? Some of us want to go over to the how part. Get over into your lane, right? God got the how, and thank God that God has the how, right? Because seemingly miraculous things happen. Do you know if you have any unclaimed funds with the New York State? What? Seemingly miraculous things happen, right? Oh, hi, Rev Melissa. Our center is in the overflow. We met all our financial goals for 2021. So we want to give money to Rockland CSL. What? Those are all hows. God's business, right? Yes. 4, welcome everything that comes. Welcome everything that comes in the darkness and in the light, right? Have faith that everything is happening for our highest good. Sometimes we're in that dark place and we believe it's like, what am I doing? Why am I here? And it's fine to feel that way, right? to move through those feelings and to keep ourselves focused on the light that's ahead, even if it's just a sliver. Oh, even if it's just like that light that's coming through my curtain right there, right? Just a sliver of faith. So stay focused on the light, even in those moments of darkness, right? 5, impress upon your subconscious mind the image of having what your heart's desire using your imagination and repetition. Our subconscious mind requires repetition, right? It's the seat of habit. It's the seat of memory. It needs to be repeated, that this is what I'm impressing upon right now, right? So repetitiveness and imagination. Chris said in the meditation to bring to mind something that you're desiring now. Can you see it? Can you picture it? Stay in the vibration of it. Feel it. Act as if it's happening right now. Because on a neurological level, it doesn't matter if it is or isn't. It is. So let's use the power of our imagination to anchor in that which we desire. And lastly, and this is like really, really important, and I had to learn this lesson the hard way. Put yourself on mute. Put yourself on mute, right? Keep your goals to yourself. Those big dreams that you have, treat them as sacred and precious because they are, right? You don't want to go around sharing your big dreams with just anybody, right? And even the well-meaning people in your life, you don't know that something that they say, because our minds are so open and vulnerable, right? Something that they say could have a negative imprint on all the work that we just got finished doing with our subconscious mind, right? So put yourself on mute. What you desire is sacred. And then when it happens, you'll be in the demonstration of it, right? And everybody will see and know. Yes? So know this. If you do nothing, the law works. Nothing will happen. But if you do something, providence will move. One of my favorite quotes is from W.H. Murray, and he said this: the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision which no one could have dreamt would have come their way. Providence moves. The unexpected happens. Yes? So fears and faith and feats, oh my. Fears, faith, and feats, oh my. Fear, faith, and feats, oh my. So the next time fear shows up for you, say this melody to it. Fears, faith, and feats, oh my. Fears, faith, and feet, oh my. I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to walk through that forest. I'm going to look those wild animals in the face, and I'm going to keep going because I know the truth of who I am. I could call back on a memory, an experience where I was already victorious and know that if it happened then, it will happen again and again and again, because that is the way that God works. Yes.